Welcome to Debt to Cinema. I'm Brian Gillis.
And I'm Steven Maltmanex.
Like most people, we love going to the theater and catching the latest releases. However, you can sadly put a big dent in your wallet.
Fortunately, living in the digital age makes the viewing possibilities endless from the comforts of home.
Many of these films that you can see right from your couch, we're ashamed to say we missed, despite labeling ourselves cinephiles.
So join us as one or both of us cross off a title from our list of shame.
It can be an all-time essential classic,
or an underrated piece of cinema that's worth giving a shot.
Hell, it might just be some trashy film we want the others' opinion on. So sit tight and join us as we pay off our debts, $1 at a time.
I don't want you to be the guy in the PG-13 movie everyone's really hoping makes it happen. I want you to be like the guy in the rated R movie. You're a bad man. You're a bad man. You're a bad man.
In the city of Los Angeles, where everyone is a player,
What do you guys do?
Oh, I'm a producer.
Mike can't even get a seat on the bench.
Where do I know you from?
You ever been to the Ha Ha Hole on Pico?
Oh, you're a comedian.
It's it's a dream. It's a lot of hard work and travel.
I know where it is. Starbucks. You came in and asked me for an application.
But now his closest friends are getting him back into the swing of things.
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
This happens to be a $100 minimum bet table. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of our lower stakes tables.
How you ladies doing this evening?
What do you drive?
Cavalier.
It's a nice touch.
So how long do I wait to call?
2 days is like industry standard.
Well, how long are you guys going to wait to call your babies? 6 days.
Miramax presents the film that had an entire country on its feet.
You know what, big boy? You're grown up!
Swingers.
This week is special. We're coming up on that 100th episode. I didn't realize that 2 weeks ago when you said you knew what your episode was 2 weeks from now and you wouldn't share it. But not just because of that landmark or that this is a good film, but because we're joined by two special people. My girlfriend Ashley is on air after talking about her for a very long time, and also I'm joined by my cat on my lap, whose name was essentially Jackson, then Malcolm. But I think after this one, it's just gonna be Money.
I'm just happy to hear that you're considering your cat a person.
All good cats are people, to be honest. Okay, so last week we watched one of the original independent films ever made, and this week instead we get one of the quintessential 90s independent films, Jon Favreau's first script, Doug Liman's first real movie, one of the first films with Vince Vaughn. You got Heather Graham in here shortly after, coming off of Twin Peaks and a couple other things. This is before Boogie Nights. And then you throw in other people like Ron Livingston and cameos by like Adam Scott that you might not even caught, or like Mike White, and so many different people at this time. No, right? I didn't catch him either. It's like in the fun fact trivia thing. And so you love Shadows because it showed what could be possible when you make movies this way. I love this because it's a good movie and it shows why independent filmmaking existed in the first place.
Well, it's a fun movie at the same time. Is this independent? It feels like It kind of feels like a Chasing Amy situation where Miramax was like, "Here's some money, just bring us something back."
No, this is the opposite. They definitely sold this to Miramax. I don't know when, to the point where
with that
Doug
Reservoir
Liman
Dogs
shot this
reference, I was like, I don't know.
I think that's after they bought it, they could shoot that maybe, or get away with it without any kind of licensing materials.
The Goodfellas one is less on the nose. It's just there, and you could be like, yeah, okay, that actually, it's similar enough in principle, but it's not like a direct mimicry of what that did.
I mean, the Casino one is pretty direct though too. In
What
those
they recreate
films,
from
then you have that
Casino
guy.
aside from going to Vegas.
Well, it's just the way Vegas is shot in this movie. For the budget, this thing was made for $2 million or something, super small considering the music here, and it's shot almost entirely on location. And they might not have been people yet, but it still has a pretty sizable cast of people that were coming. I mean, Jon Favreau was in Rudy just 3 years before this.
So was Vince Vaughn.
Was with them in that. Yeah. But no, this is independent because they wanted real people here. They wanted Johnny Depp. They definitely didn't want to cast Jon Favreau. They wanted them to abandon all the catchphrases. They didn't like the swingers angle, this is swing music. They didn't like any of that when they were pitching this around town. And it's funny because Jon Favreau, he stars in this, but he wrote it, he co-produced it. It's basically his life story, even if he had some level of fame at this point when it's being filmed.
Well, even if you look at just some typical going against the grain independent filmmaking, just the title sequence alone, they're not conventional. I mean, written and co-produced share a title card. Directed and shot by, that shares a title
Very
card.
like Robert Rodriguez-esque almost. It's just Miramax.
Well, has
It's
Robert
like
Rodriguez
at this
done that
time-
where he's put everything on there where it's like, I wrote it, I did the music for it, I shot it, I
Well, he's
produced
not-
it,
yeah, he's
and
not
I
a dick
directed
when he
it,
says
and
it,
I
though.
edited
Like
it.
it's usually three. It's usually shot, cut, and scored by Robert Rodriguez. But even still,
these are all
this
condensed
is,
at least.
This is pinnacle 90s filmmaking where, like, even down to the fucking EA Sports NHL hockey on Sega Genesis, which is, also in Mallrats, like, also, I think, in Chasing Amy, among other films, where it's like, I don't think I've ever played that franchise, but I know, since I own a Sega Genesis, that I should probably hunt it down at some point.
We'll find out if the head's bleeding.
Yeah, not only is this essential 90s though, or essential indie, it's also essential LA. That having a new Beverly calendar on Mike's
Right in
fridge
the apartment,
in those first shots.
Or like the 101 South, or any of those signs.
Any of the
or,
street signs. But going to the Dresden or the Derby, or just being in Hollywood, going to the Hollywood Hills, like I almost had moments here. I know Ashley hasn't seen it, but of La La Land, where it's like the film isn't essentially about what it means to be a Los Angelino, but more so the dream of coming here, where like Hollywood, where the streets are paved with gold, where anything is possible, and you have people from New York and Wisconsin and in the Midwest, and they should be happy that they're working at Disneyland, or possibly working at Disneyland, but they don't want to be goofy.
Even then, when they don't get the job, they're upset about it.
Yeah.
It's like they think it's beneath them and they don't want to do it, but then they lose that job and they feel even worse about it.
See, what's funny about that, too, that whole character of Ron Livingston, I know you haven't seen Office Space, so you're kind of lost on who he is, because it's like his only thing besides this film. But Ron Livingston and Vince Vaughn are the characters that they were in real life. They were close friends of Jon Favreau's, and he wrote them into the script. And he wrote the script like within 2 weeks or something crazy. Like this is his apartment. These are his friends. This is his car. Like Vince Vaughn's convertible, that's his actual Comet that he was driving at the time. I read something crazy about Doug Liman taking like an Anton 35 camera and wrapping it in a scarf, and then wrapping that in a blanket, and then carrying that around so it wasn't too loud on set.
Honestly, this movie does not look as small as it sounds when you read more about it. Like, it's, looking at the budget, it's like, yeah, I see that's kind of low, but it looks and feels like much more professional than most of the stuff that was that's just made today, independent wise. Like, as far as sound and like just the rights that they get for the songs, and just how clean a lot of the audio is, especially like that one scene in I found out about this afterwards, when they're out in the middle of the road when they're leaving Vegas.
And they had no permit for that.
Yeah, and apparently while there was a cop there that pulled them over, they were recording that scene. They were actually filming it while someone was faking trying to get the permit for it.
Yeah,
and they managed to pull it off. It doesn't feel awkward at all. Maybe now I have to look for it when I rewatch that scene, but yeah, it really, really works.
That casino shot, when they approached Vegas, they didn't have permit for that. Obviously, the side of the highway that you said. All the parties that they shoot at here, they didn't have permits or tell people. They just walked in with cameras rolling. Like that, when that sequence when they walk in, the five of them, everyone stops what they're doing, they look at them. That was staged, but that's essentially, I would imagine, what it was like walking into this. Like, they would put signs up at the bars that said, "We are filming. If you walk on, you're going to be an extra that didn't get paid," type of thing. And like, if you actually pay attention at the Derby, right before Jon Favreau approaches Heather Graham, there's a guy on the right side of the frame that looks straight down the barrel of the gun, looks directly into the lens, like, "Hey, I'm on TV," and then they go about their scene. And like, in that moment, Jon Favreau like whispers something to someone's ear, and like the story is that he had to tell him, "Hey, we're filming the meet cute for this movie that I wrote. Can you please walk away so we can do this? We only have like 1 or 2 more days to do this," type of thing. But yeah, Adam Scott lived downstairs from Jon Favreau in his real apartment, and so he's invited. I'm sure he was like on set, or it says like he's at a party or two, along with like Stephen Gaghan and Mike White, so like 2 other acclaimed late 90s like screenwriters, which is just funny to think about how these kind of people not only lived around one another, but also like lived with each other, essentially.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's weird because there's not that much to say, at least for me. Like, this is a really cool snapshot of LA for the 90s, definitely. I mean, I definitely, granted, I wasn't around there long enough, but there were definitely things that kind of pulled me back, just as far as like remembering stuff, like places you went, like even the fucking the lock sticks on your steering wheel, which I don't know if you do that. When I was living in Long Beach, I had that.
Brian definitely does that.
I have the twin locks. Okay, it's not the piece of shit red one they have in this movie. It hooks onto both sides of the steering wheel. Not taking any risks after I got my car stolen the first time.
No, but it's just that's a Southern California thing that I remember having. Not so much now, you know.
Is it not a thing everywhere? Really?
No, it's
more of an LA County thing.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
The two sequences that these show up are pretty good. The first one where you have like the carpool of guys driving around LA together one by one, and then when they all pull up, they go click, 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 click. Like, remember how we were talking about Baby Driver before it came out? I was like, oh, we're gonna have sequences like that. Like, this is kind of like the inspiration for that. And if you watch, you've seen Go, right?
No, I think we talked about that, but I haven't.
That's even more chaotic than this film is. Like, that film is super quick. Like, this is
budget.
Slow. Yeah, well, it has, like, after making this, you would think it would be. Like, Claire Danes is in it. I forget. It has, like, a good-sized cast, and it's like, Tarantino-esque. Like, just how chaotic and fast and, like, hip it is.
It is funny, though. Like, honestly, I knew literally nothing about this other than it was Doug Liman's first flick, and it was fairly low budget, and it was Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. I thought this was a Vegas movie, though, just based on the poster,
it's
like
sort of
based on the
Vegas
cover.
movie.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was going to be. It was a road trip to Vegas. I did not expect, right when
Vegas,
the opening
baby,
credit
Vegas.
sequence, like right when that started, I was like, wait, this is Hollywood? Like, all right. I'm kind of actually relieved that it wasn't a Vegas movie. For whatever reason, I don't know why. Just like, there's not that many Vegas movies that I like, man.
Come on, baby, we're getting the Rain Man. Say it with me.
Yeah, I don't like Rain Man.
Rain Man's essential because it makes that joke work. So
yeah,
it's one of those. It's might not be a good movie, but it's a necessary movie.
You know what? I got Vegas maybe out of this. So,
but it's really money. It's the new name of my cat. It's one of those. Everyone knows it now, especially when it comes to sports. Like if a shot leaves your hands, like that's money. Mm-hmm. That's so money. And also, it was sports before it was this because like Jon Favreau was inspired by the Michael Jordan Spike Lee commercials. I guess one of them, he just calls MJ money. He's like, look how money he is in those clothes or whatever. But they ran with it here. They made it a real thing. Like if there's one success story from this film outside of Jon Favreau's career, Vince Vaughn's career, and Jon Favreau's career nowadays is way bigger than Vince Vaughn's. Like it's all about the money. You're so money you don't even know how much money you have. That it would make sense that this would be a Debt to Cinema pick because it's all about the money here. It's all about the dollars, and it's a natural fit. Maybe it's not episode 100, but it's close enough for me. It's 99 cents. How about that? It's almost money. It's changed.
Like I said, have you seen this before?
I've seen this a good couple times.
All right. So what is so special about it for you other than that?
I think it's a solid movie. I mean, I kind of talked about it last week. I've talked about it on this episode too, just in terms of like the Marty film. This is pretty much Marty. Like, instead of taking place in the mid-50s in New York, this is the mid-90s in L.A. And it feels like L.A., unlike most other films. They reference Tarantino here and how he steals everything. His films kind of bleed LA angst in a certain way, more so like the way people talk or like the cultural references, but it doesn't feel like it's actually filmed here necessarily. It could be shot anywhere. It's just the characters feel like they're from this part of the country, whereas everything about this, like I said, also in the way that like La La Land exudes that kind of just body to it that you feel like you're here, even if you've never been here. Like, maybe they could have went to the beach, or they could have went to the Hollywood Hills, they go to the hills, but I mean, like, the Hollywood sign, or maybe if they had a bigger budget, they could have got a shot at Disneyland, or, like, Universal Studios, or something. Like, they could have added more to it if this wasn't such a minor budget. If this was, like, a mid-budget, it would just go further. Like, if you had, like, someone come in from out of town who'd never been there, and they, like, walk along the stars, or something like that, something silly, but it doesn't need that because this film is about people for the people that are here. It's about trying to make it here, like leaving home and coming here before you've even let go of the past, whether that be a girlfriend of 6 years and it's only been 6 months, or whatever it is. Like just the feeling that maybe you have, but I know I don't and Ashley doesn't, that, you know, when you're actually from this city, or better yet from this county, because no one actually lives in LA proper, that you just, there's like a certain sense of confidence or just like style that you're birthed into. Like it's a culture that you're not, I wouldn't say it's like, it doesn't make you special, but it definitely gives you a certain sense of belonging when you know that, you know, like the people that this film is about, these people that come across the country, people that I've met while working, you know, like at Universal Studios, where they wanted to become actors, that they left where they're from to be here, to be a dancer or an entertainer or whatever. And this is kind of like their Bible, I would say. Like, it's not the film that they watch to inspire them, but if you come here and you're living here and you watch this movie and it just stumbles upon TV, or maybe like it did for me, I remember watching this on cable, maybe it was on IFC, I don't remember, a long time ago, like over 10 years ago, that it's one of those movies that you feel at home with. Like maybe that's going to diners at 3 a.m. or just getting drunk with your friends, or randomly driving to Vegas in the middle of the night, or whatever it is, you know, like sitting in your apartment, not shaving, not bathing, and just drinking orange juice, trying to get over whatever fuck-ups you've had recently.
Well, it's not just an LA thing or a California thing. Like, that's a universal thing, too, man. Like,
that is, but I'm saying...
I think it's like, partly a guy thing, too. Like, this definitely has... It's got that reputation too, but I think for most people, like at least as far as circles I've been in that I've talked about this movie with, even though I hadn't seen it yet, it's kind of the ultimate, at least from a guy's perspective, it's the ultimate getting over a breakup movie that you just put on for
Not
comfort.
True.
That's how it's been pitched to me.
Forgetting
and I
Sarah
totally
Marshall is a much better version
because
of the getting over your girlfriend thing.
But that's a romantic comedy still at the end of the day. You know, it still plays with those tropes a little bit. This one, no, not so much. It doesn't have that guy gets girl, guy loses girl, guy gets girl back formula. It's more just about literally taking that step to get over that breakup. And then, yeah, it ends on a note where it finally, you know, things are finally going forward. But yeah, it's not really a romantic comedy at the end of the day. I mean, also, though, just as far as like being in your 20s and just trying to quote make it, you know, like, yeah, it definitely plays on that for people our age. There is a lot here, a lot of truths here that I think click in that sense of like, you know, it's just as far as like advice that you take from your buddies when you're trying to get over something, and yet they give you so many mixed things. And like, you know, when they're trying to figure out, hey, how many days should you wait till you call? It's like, oh, you know, wait 1 day. Okay, so call tomorrow. No, call the day after. So 2 days? Yeah, 2. How many days do you want to wait? I wait 6. You know, like it's just, I think basically what I'm getting at is just nobody ever knows shit. You know, you just have to wing it. Like even the final scene when she ends up calling him, that's proof of like, you know, the waiting rule is kind of dumb. I guess there's different variations on it where you don't necessarily want to do it right away, but, you know, just sometimes you got to go with your gut, and if it works, it works.
Maybe we can get the female perspective on this. How many days should you wait after meeting someone, you know, to see them? How?
I mean, I don't think those rules apply now. But, like, as a movie, I don't think it only applies to the male breakup perspective. I just think it's a really cute, I don't know. But, I guess 2 days. 1 day for me, but no, it's like, you know, probably 12 hours, not even like 30 minutes, maybe right after I've just left, but
it's
impulse
like
control. Yeah.
You know, what's realistic for me is like, I just call and then I try to set like plans ahead of time where it's like maybe like 3 days after I call, we go do something just because that's when that fits. But it's just, you know, I think like, hey, just get the call out of the way. There's no sense in waiting. We can establish something by that way, you know?
Well, it's also not calls anymore. It's
I still call.
Even though this is the mid-90s, though, it's kind of amazing that
true.
Not a single character has a pager or a cell phone of some sort, or even a car phone, or no one uses a computer. You don't see anyone read a magazine. Like, you see an issue of LA Weekly. You see like one book. You see Bukowski's Hollywood. Like which
like
is funny
also,
because
yeah.
Hollywood is Bukowski's like basically memoir of what it was like getting Barfly made as a movie. So it's kind of like this film, like I would definitely imagine Jon Favreau reading that book, and that's why it showed up in the script and then in the film itself while trying to get this film made. But like Jon Favreau had a real career, unlike most of the other people in this film. Like Rudy, as we said, was 3 years before this. PCU was 2 years before this. But even after this, like, he went on more and more and more and more. And then he started making movies. He directed Made in 2001, which I've tried to watch. It's a reteaming with him and Vince Vaughn, and like P. Diddy's in it. That movie's a whole different thing, though. I'll watch it one of these days. But when you look at this, and this is a conversation that we've had kind of like offhand, like I don't think you understood where I was coming from. If you look at this in relation to Chef and how this film's dichotomy from Iron Man is so apparent, why he would go, I made this Swingers movie, then I made Iron Man and Iron Man 2 and Cowboys and Aliens and fucking Zathura, and now I need to get back to my roots. I have to become an independent filmmaker. I have to learn how to cook. I need to hang out with my kids. I need to go on the road. I need to make a movie for me, by me. I don't care if there's an audience.
Well, this is also more or less based off a real breakup, right? Or at least loosely. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of things here that are taken from real life, yeah.
It's like, that's what makes independent film, to be honest. It's not having a voice that matters or having angst. If you look at the best independent films out there, it's most always, this is my real life. Like, look at Clerks. These are real clerks, and clerks in this share lots of commonalities. Let's look at, this person left. She's in New York. She's now with someone else, and I'm still not over her, even though I'm with someone else.
Best films in general, where you take something from your actual experience, and there's a reason why that resonates with people. It's because you're saying something that, even if people are not connecting with the same exact circumstances as you, there is something there that definitely strikes a chord with them.
But jumping back to the Chef thing, how sad is it, almost like painfully ironic, that both this film, a Miramax movie, and then what Jon Favreau really made his career on, Iron Man, which was an independent film also at the time of release, even though it was Marvel, were both bought out by Disney. At one point, Disney owned both Swingers and all of the Miramax library, as well as all of the MCU films, and he made Chef, and then he just went back to the fucking clan. Like, he's making Jungle Book 2, he's making the live-action Lion King, he's making that Magic Kingdom movie whenever. I'm sure he's got something else on the horizon at the House of Mouse. That, like, when is he gonna make, or is he ever gonna make a Chef 2? Or not necessarily a Chef sequel,
it's only one
but
film later, though, that you're thinking about this. So, hey, he had to have a good time in Jungle Book to be considering Jungle Book 2.
It's not a consideration. He's making it. He's making that Lion King movie. Like, he's fully enthralled in, I need that Disney money. Like, how weird is that you just have that line of dialogue here, though, where Charles is talking to Ron Livingston's character. He's like, I can't believe I got Goofy. And he goes, well, at least it's Disney. It's like, that's what Jon Favreau's career became. Like, almost every single movie he's ever made, besides Cowboy and Aliens, Made, and Zathura, are Disney films now. But even still, like, his heavy hitters, the films that he's really known for, Swingers and Iron Man.
He's still got a long career ahead of him at this point.
I hope he's got a really, really long one. But, like, other weird little things happen in this film when they're actually at the casino. And you see, like, the two older people winning. First you see the guy who's like, oh, it's my night, at the $100 table. That's Vince Vaughn's dad. And then the lady who gets the comp breakfast with the cute koala and, like, the nice scarf that Ashley liked, that's Jon Favreau's mom. Like, they put their parents in this movie. They put their own house and apartment. They put their own friends. They put their own lives. And, like, you can feel that. The films that they like, they jokingly try to recreate while talking about them. Like, this is people that are trying to get jobs, and they got a job talking about the jobs that they wanted to get. Like, even, like, just the weird shit, like the redhead with the number who Vince Vaughn ends up not liking, and you get that Jaws theme thrown in there. They sent this to Spielberg. Spielberg saw that sequence.
Yeah.
He was enamored by Vince Vaughn, and then he gave him a starring role in The Lost World Jurassic Park. Maybe not the best movie to be in, and Vince Vaughn had to follow that up with the Psycho remake, so he had a very rough late 90s.
Jeez.
But Spielberg almost made Vince Vaughn a movie star. I'm still surprised that he only really made it kind of in this and like Elf and not Elf. I mean,
Old School,
fucking
Wedding Crashers,
well, sort of Old School, but more Wedding Crashers. Yeah, like he stayed the funny, tall sidekick almost. Like he never broke free. Like that's where his career went. He went. I don't want to be the sidekick. I want to be the star. He tried to do a couple starring roles, and no one went to see them because for some reason, even though he has great screen chemistry and charisma, like look at him.
He's got True Detective, so I guess
actually he
that.
doesn't because he was in the second season, which killed the series.
Yeah.
There is no third season, you know. But he's good in that. He's actually like really good in that. But you asked me like why I like this movie. It's one of those films, and I think we are unanimous in this idea that just speaks to you, whether you've had these situations or you've been to these locales or people like this or like whatever reason it is. It's like an essential film. Like it's a classic 90s movie that is totally underrated, that people kind of skim over. They're more willing to talk about Casino or Goodfellas or Reservoir Dogs or maybe Pulp Fiction or even the bigger and badder films of the mid to late 90s. But this one's a buy for me. I did buy it. I paid $3. So if I paid $3, I'll definitely get it for $1. I know you paid 25 cents for it. You watched it on VHS. I watched it on DVD. You'd buy it for a full $1, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something to be like insanely critical of. It's just good comfort. And it's fun. It's a fun hangout movie. Man, I can't. It's just tough to really peg anything on this other than just saying the cliche things of like, oh, it's very low budget and independent and. Celebrate it for that reason. It's just, there is a reason why it's still, even if it is dated and there's no cell phones in there, like there are definitely things that, like, the answering machine gag. Yeah. Which is definitely weird. Not something you would see today. The collect call that's being made, that situation, just, you would not interrupt somebody by going to the next room. You would just take your phone outside. But hey, the scenario is still funny, even if it is dated. But yeah, it's a fun movie.
Maybe I want to No, I definitely don't want a VHS copy. I'll keep my special features. I have this stupid ass extra called Swing Blade, which is a mashup of Sling Blade and Swingers. Mm-hmm. And essentially, Billy Bob Thornton's character is in this world. It's so bad. You can probably find it on YouTube. It's like 2 minutes or less. It's one of those, like, we only had enough money to film a quote-unquote trailer, and that's the whole movie. It's like one of those shorts. But yeah, what about you, Ashley? Would you buy this one, or would you let someone buy it so you could watch it?
I mean, well, no, definitely. It's just such a cool movie, and, like, I don't know. I think it's very authentic, and the interplay between Vince Vaughn and, I guess, Jon Favreau's character is just a real selling point for me. I was smiling the entire movie. It's just didn't think it wasn't cool for 1 second, so I'd buy it.
I do think it's ideal now, like especially because it's in the Miramax library, that it's pretty much a given that it'll be on some streaming service. It's on Amazon Prime right now. It was on Netflix.
Not on Prime. Mm-mm. It was on Prime. Now it's part of if you have a subscription.
What do you mean?
So they removed it, but yeah. Like it's one of the Prime channels things.
Like I had access to it on Prime. I could have watched it that way. Did that just disappear?
I had access on it recently. No, like I said, I looked it up in terms of our audience. Now it's one of the Prime channels, I believe. But I could be wrong. I could double check it. But yeah, it used to be on Netflix. But you're right.
Either way, though, like this is one of those ideal titles where that's how a lot of people are going to watch it for the first time, and it'll be easy for them to ingest. And I know that a lot of people have seen it that way and just told other people to watch it. It's one of those holdovers where you see the title enough, and then one day you'll just end up being in the mood for it. And I think the streaming game is a good home for it.
I am curious how many people, especially if they know this is Miramax, wonder if it's like some kind of sex movie, because it does have that kind of title.
Oh, I totally did. Yeah, I mean, like I definitely have seen the DVD case around my house and just always assumed it was a weird one, but yeah.
You just see Vince Vaughn on the cover, and it's like, yeah, that dude, he wants to bang.
Well, that's his whole character.
Yeah.
He doesn't, like, he has no personality. His personality is, I'm getting pussy, watch me get it. Like, You're a baby. You're a baby. They're a rabbit. You're the bear with the claws, with the fangs and the claws, and you got so many ways to kill him. How do you want him? How are you gonna get him? And then Sue's in the corner going, "Yeah,
it's
yeah."
funny
you got
though
fangs.
because like there were moments where I was just kind of thinking, yeah, this guy's kind of a dick, but at the same time, no, he actually does care because he's going to the corner, making sure that Jon Favreau is getting some. You know, he's looking out for his friend.
Oh, more
But,
so
yeah,
when he
it's not
opens
just
up the
himself.
curtain to check.
And he's
on
like,
him.
yeah, and he's just like, hey, here's a condom. No, that's not what I need.
I saw that scene 2 or 3 times today. I laughed every time. I laughed alone.
It's a funny scene.
I think it's real funny, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can listen to more by checking out the Dollar Reviews Show, where we cover theatrical and streaming releases, as well as give our 2 cents on anything we sought out on our own, whether that be TV, music, etc.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
And we're also on Google Play Music, iTunes, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, just about anywhere on the internet with hours of content available to you for free. But for those of you that feel that the show is worth your dollar, you can send us a donation at patreon.com/dollarreviews. Contributions not only earn our undying love, but they also make it possible for us to improve our recording equipment and to give you the highest quality episodes possible. But more importantly, they'd be helping us acquire the content to review. You know, trips to the multiplex are expensive, and the more donations we receive, the more films we can review for your listening pleasure.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Death to Cinema request, or if you just want to laugh at us, you can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BRYONGILLIS, and now you know how to spell the email too, and also under the same name on the lovely site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films that I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.